Yeah, right. In here is my little dungeon of drumming. This is set up ideally for a drum studio. You have, of course, a motorcycle. This enhances the sonic quality of the drums. Also, a couple of paramotors, two-stroke engines, really effective in conveying that deep bass sound from the kick drum down here. Really important. Some old torn up insulation to absorb some sound, and then a couple of jars of handy repair materials in case your drum part falls apart. You can pour some of this in your hair and then everything will be fine. And then, of course, if everything gets completely out of control, you just pull the circuit breaker. I think the strangest part of my musical journey is that I've become a drummer. The reason for that being is I think most of my life I thought, especially listening to rock and roll, it's like, what exactly is the point? Everybody should just play together. What the hell do you need a drummer for? Now I could see for something like a big band where people are separated by bigger distances and there's a lot of players, where maybe you need somebody to sit there and act as a metronome. But, if you got a three-piece, you can't play together, what the hell is the point of having a drummer as a timekeeper? And I think there's another side to it, is that drummers whose purpose was just be a metronome for the band ended up with these incredibly boring parts that I just wasn't even interested in listening to. And therefore, I've always had this attitude about drums, like, what the hell's the point? And yet, here I am playing drums. What the hell happened? Well, as I wrote my own music, I was limping along with drum machines, and regardless of what I did, you'd end up with this very unsatisfying result. Now, I could have taken my own advice and say, well, why do you need drums at all? And then just left them out, except for, I guess I was kind of talking out my ass when I said things like that. Because the truth of the matter is that punctuation, that definition, and that dynamics that a drummer adds to a song turns out to be rather important. And I have to say, drums has had a revenge on my bad attitude about them, because when I got this drum set and started playing it, it kicked my ass. It grabbed me by the back of the neck and rubbed my face in my own bullshit when I found out exactly how hard it is to play this instrument. Having said all that, I'm not completely backing off my curmudgeonly attitude towards drumming. And I think that comes from, especially as a guy who lived through the 80s, where every single song had that snare that went boom, 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 song after song, band after band. Got to the point where I just wanted to go in and grab somebody's arm and say, just let one of those go by. Please have mercy on us all and just do something different. Also, fortunately for me, I also lived through a time of jazz rock fusion, a lot of the progressive bands where you got very interesting drummers who played all sorts of interesting stuff. But here's the thing that comes in. That drum machine that I was talking about, which I got because I said, well, this will fill in, and then I'd use it and it would sound like crap. Drum machines are, in a way, very good for drumming. And some drummers might go like, oh, you're talking like the Antichrist now. But here's the thing. If you were just going to be boring, a drum machine could do what you were doing better. And that meant if you say, hey, wait, I want to prove the worth of a human being getting behind the kit and being part of this music, I have to do things that a drum machine can't do. I have to add that human characteristics, that creativity to the song that you can't program in, or if you do try and program in, it takes so much damn work that comes a certain point where you say, you know what, it'd just be easier to get a drummer to play this thing. Now, having said all that, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit, because one of the things I think about when I drum and I'm making a drum part is that I go to myself, I want to play drums as creatively as Kate Bush can program a drum machine. Sounds like a damn weird thing to say, but I always liked those parts that she would put behind her music that had these really interesting beats and avoided that kind of monotonum of saying, I've got to do the boring thing that everybody expects of me. The excuse is usually made, well, so people can dance to it. Well, let's get rid of boring dancers as we get rid of boring drummers, and then we can all have much more fun. Now, this is my drum kit here. Let's look at this. Well, first thing I'm finding out here is it's really hard in this little basement room to get far enough away from the drum set so you can actually see the thing. So now I've smashed myself in the corner. Now here's the deal. I went to the drum shop and found this drum set for $169. As a matter of fact, when the guy rang me up, he put on my receipt, cheap-o drum set. Because I thought, well, you know, I just need something to make drum sounds with, and I'm not going to spend a lot of money on this. This idea fell immediately by the wayside because I had to buy heads. Okay, that wasn't too bad. But then I bought the snare drum, which was about twice as expensive as the entire drum set. And then, uh-oh, those things. Oh, that was more expensive than the entire drum set. And, oh, that my buddy Chris gave to me. So that was awesome. This thing, that also cost more than my entire drum set. And then I found that drum, which I liked better, which didn't cost that much. Of course, it needed to be painted orange, which I took care of it because it was the wrong color up to them then. And so my whole idea of let's have a cheap drum set just completely went down the tubes as I added all this shit to it. Now, most people, when they record drums, especially on a professional album, have 9,000 billion microphones all over this thing. But if you notice here, I've got one here. I got one over here. And then there's this one inside the kick drum, which you can see vaguely here. And here's the interesting thing. Once I set up this 3-mic system and got it all moved around until I liked the sound it was producing, it turns out that there's a very famous engineer, producer dude named John Glenn's, who, Glenn Johns? That dude, he did this on a lot of huge albums, as it turns out. And I just kind of stumbled into a similar thing screwing around. Now, I have to admit, once I found out that he did this, I looked at how he was doing things and modified my setup. So it's now very much more like he does than it was before. But I gotta say my initial setup was pretty much like this. Now I gotta get to bashing away on this thing. Because like all drummers, I have an opportunity to play my drums this afternoon where there will be no complaining. And if you've ever owned a drum set, you know that finding time where there'll be complaint-free drumming can be a very rare commodity. But I want to say a little bit about how I record. You know, some people will start out with a drum track and then put the bass on it, and then they'll build up the layers after that. And I really don't get that. If I'm looking at this drum set as being something that's really going to add a dynamic, dramatic element to things, if it has nothing to play to but a click track, how is it going to add that energy into it? There's got to be something already there. And I got to say, I come pretty close to doing drums last. Which is upside down from how other people do it. But I want something to play along. I want to, like, you know, I'm just having a jam and I've turned on some tunes and I'm playing along. Except for in this case, it's my song and I can make up and do whatever I want. Once again, because nobody can stop me and there are no music police. So anyway, I'm going to shut this off and I'm going to get on this thing and make noise before the complaint department is back in session. All right, now I'm all in recording mode. I got my headphones on, my ear protectors to keep the click track out of the microphones. And there's another point that I got to make about this whole thing is that drums are really fun to play. The whole thing is just great. And I played one track now, and it's just exhilarating to play the drums. It's, you know, it's a good way to stay alive, is to get on this instrument. I'm going to make another point about that, but I need to play some more first. And there it is, hot and sweaty, tired, starting to feel a little achy, and I'm done with drumming for the day. But like I was saying before, this is really, really fun. And I think, especially as you get older and your chemistry no longer seems that intense and sparkly, it's really important to gravitate towards those things that really spark you up inside and make you feel alive. And the thing I'm thinking about in particular right now is people who teach musical instruments. I think it's all too often to get somebody who goes, you need to be disciplined, you need to practice hard, you need to take this boring stuff and repeat it over and over again, because then you'll have fundamentals that will help you out later in life. And then those kids quit the lessons because it's a drag. Just give them the damn drum set, give them some sticks, and make a ton of noise. First, find the fun in any instrument, how fun it is to play the thing. And then once you're into it, you'll go like, okay, you think that's cool? Now let me show you some other stuff. But I think so much musical joy is lost in this world from people getting way too heavy-handed, especially with young children, with the idea that you gotta practice hard, you gotta be disciplined. Because I'm not doing this for the sake of discipline. Now, it took discipline to get to even be a half-assed drummer such as myself. But I only found the discipline because I wanted to pursue the fun. And the fun's got to be there first. If it's not there, then it's just drudgery. And then what the hell's the point of that? This is fun. Keep it fun, make it fun, introduce it as fun, and then we'll all play music together somewhere at some time. And it will be great.